Greetings once again. We're back for the mayor's brief. I'm not the mayor, but I'm sitting here in his stead today. Councilman Daughtridge, glad to have you.
You are the mayor pro tem.
That's it. That's it. Welcome to the mayor pro tem brief. No, welcome to the mayor's brief. It's January the 9th meeting is what we'll be discussing a committee of the whole. Happy New Year. I think this is the first mayor's brief of the new year because it's our first meeting.
Right.
So at least the first mayor's brief in regards to city council. So
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Happy New Year to everybody.
Yes, sir. Jumping right into it. Committee of the whole was at 5 p.m. on the 9th. And we had a few interesting items to talk about. I think
Right.
MetroNet was the first item on the agenda. Pretty exciting to know about this fiber tech company that's trying to work its way into the city of Rocky Mount. So that was great to know from especially for all of you tech lovers.
Yeah. Well, I think the interesting thing, just in a little detail, first of all, we as a city council, as a city, we don't advocate one business over another, but it is exciting to get some competition in from what we have available to people right now. And I think, if I recall correctly, they're going to maybe start up in around May or April or May.
Yeah.
And so that's exciting. And I think it's going to take about a year or two for the build out. And they're going to go neighborhood by neighborhood. And it sounds like they're very attentive to the citizens and the needs of the citizens, especially when you go to your yard. And there's going to be some disruption. But it sounds like they're very responsive to that, which is exciting to hear. And proof will be in the pudding, but we're going to take them at their word.
That's it, man. They they presented, said they have an individual rep that will be on standby for all calls, and they have a fact line online. And so one thing we would probably encourage citizens to try to avoid is calling the business service center. Barring them down with calls because MetroNet will have a direct line.
Right.
But if you have to call business services, that's available as well. But we'll try to encourage you to stay away from that option if you can.
That's right.
That's it. Secondly, the idle fund investments. Ken did a presentation to discuss some idle funds, that we had that we could place into a certain type of investment account that would yield some return other than us just having to sit money around. We can really play some idle funds. It was worded for exactly what it was meant to do, idle fund investments. And so it was good to know that we were looking at different options and possibilities because I was unaware that we didn't have, those funds already placed into an account. So that was really new news for me.
Well, I was under the impression we had them maybe in a CD, but interestingly enough, with the economy slowing down a little bit, and the Fed actually slowing the economy down and raising interest rates, actually that helps the city on our investments because it's correlated along with what the Fed is doing. So I think now we're about 4.5% that we're earning on our idle funds, and we have about 96 million. About 96 million in idle funds with one fund right now. And then I think the proposal to us is we take 10% of that and place in this new fund that has just been created in the past 6 months to a year.
First quarter financial review for the city and also the event center were both presented by Ken Hunter. And Ken shared with us financially that we're in a good space. We're in a good place financially. And the events. Let's deal with it one at a time. I'm sure you want to provide some details about the city's financial state and status for the quarterly review.
I didn't really have that much to add, TJ. It's just, we are in good shape. We're kind of still in the, the big thing that we're waiting on the sales tax, and a lot of that, it comes in a little later in our fiscal year. And our fiscal year is July 1 to June, to end of June. So I think everything's in good shape, especially on the sales tax. I think we're up on sales tax more than what has been budgeted. So that's always good. I think, from the event center side, I think we're struggling in the fact that, it's doing well, but we're still not making money yet. But a lot of that has to do with going with COVID. Although everything needs to be done to make it as beneficial to the citizens of Rocky Mount. And I won't belabor the point on that because I'm sure
Yeah.
you know and others know that I'm very that's something I'm paying attention to.
Yeah.
And as we all do. It's just one of those things that I was not an advocate for the event center, but it's here. We've got to make it work, and it needs to be as successful as it possibly can be. And I certainly want that for the citizens of Rocky Mount.
Man, but to your point, it is here, and making it work. How do we make it work? We see that there are a lot of tournaments. There are a lot of events. Sporting events is really the driving point of the event center. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it was about 15 maybe million in economic impact that the event center creates just for economic impact, in the city. And so seeing those numbers, we see that there's opportunities where um, entities are benefiting, hotels are benefiting, restaurants are benefiting. But how do we create an atmosphere in downtown for the city really to benefit? And I think that just starts with more individuals moving to downtown, having housing downtown with people that want to live downtown, because individuals that want to live downtown, they want to stay downtown. They want to eat downtown. They want to, and so we got to have a variety of those entities and amenities to come downtown. We had conversation about a hotel. I think in the last meeting, asking questions about that, and there's a hotel feasibility study that's supposed to be done, I believe, end of February or early March. I think Peter said.
I believe so.
And so, but yeah, I mean, to me, I feel that's how we can start to really see some great impact. But things are going well, man. If you go down on a weekend, good luck finding a park. Good luck trying to get in. I was at an event while they were having the volleyball tournament that first weekend of the year, and people that were coming to the actual banquet had to park, almost at Huck's Grocery to get in. So we do have a parking situation that we have to figure out and work through. And a lot of different, a lot of points that I know me and you talked about off record that you told me that, you already had some of those solutions to, and how you felt you would have took the angle of approaching it. And, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But like you said, we're here now, and what do we do, to get it right now?
Well, I think the lesson learned from this one is there were some legitimate concerns with the event center coming in, one being parking. And we had a whole feasibility study. I could bring back the study where Mr. Penny at the time had one and talking about how we had plenty of parking. But now we're running into a situation where not only the parking, but we also we have an issue with the railroad tracks, and that was brought up as well. And now we're looking at doing a $5.5 million, which I would dare say with the estimates were done, it was probably done before pre-COVID. So it's going to cost, probably a good 30% more than that. But I'm not in construction, so who am I to say? The point I'm making is when we as a city council move forward with any project, whether it's this hotel, that feasibility study or anything of that nature, we got to look at the projections and what could be. But we also need to look at worst case scenario. And we also need to, just because we don't like hearing people that maybe question what we decide to do or decisions we're going through, we need to take everyone's thoughts and value everyone's opinions and thoughts, because now you use the event center as an example. When concerns came up about the parking and about the railroad tracks, now we are having to pay for that, and it's something added. And at the time it was dismissed to a certain extent, but now we're hearing, well, that's a great success because we need it. Well, I think even the people who, such as myself, who were questioning the event center, knew that it's going to bring people and that we were going to need it. So I think it's a lesson that we all, as a city council and leadership in Rocky Mount, need to take from that whole piece. Moving forward.
Definitely, man. Valuing all input, considering it all, and weeding through it to really figure out the best solution, for our issues and concerns. But if you're looking to have an event, host an event, the event center is open for business. So try to get down there and make it happen so that we can continue to try to find ourselves in the positive here pretty soon. I don't know that projection. I know we were still sort of negative about $3 or $5 million maybe.
Right.
And so we've still got a ways to go. But the next couple of years or so, we'll see that, starting to have a positive trend
Another thing,
financially.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but another thing that people need to be aware of, especially in the winter months when it's not much, the children can't go outside. We have that whole area that's open on the weekends.
Yeah.
Where you can take your children. I think it's reasonably priced, and certainly take advantage of that because it's an opportunity that I didn't have with my children to take them there, and we certainly could have utilized it. So I think that's a benefit there. But
Yeah.
I'm not so sure everyone is thinking about going to the event center.
Well, Chuck E. Cheese or the event center. No, we do have those amenities, great facility, and
Right.
we should utilize those. And also, we should probably look at, the opportunity of, if you said the winter months, maybe some weekdays having it open, but definitely the weekends,
Sure.
so that we can have those events. That wrapped up our committee of the whole. We ran right out of time, right into our council meeting, which was at 7. And I think Mayor, he made a comment. He wanted to blame me for being late.
Well,
because I opened up the meeting saying that it wasn't my fault we were late for committee of the whole. So
you just set the precedent. That's all.
that's it, man. So we started it out, first council meeting of the new year, as usual, with our prayer and roll call, and move right into consideration of a resolution for the 8U Rocky Mount Little League football team. Man, the look on some of the kids' faces, man, when they came in the chambers, man, that was priceless.
It was awesome. Yeah. There was a young man that Councilman Jabaris Walker, Jay Kelly. I never know whether to call him Jabaris or Jay Kelly. I haven't figured it out yet. I'll figure it out here pretty soon.
He said he's cool with both.
Yeah. But anyway, he knew a young man, and I pulled him my telephone just so that the young man could see that he was on TV, and I think that excited him. So that's an awesome opportunity. Hey, look, and they did a great job their first year. Unbelievable. So great young men, great leadership, and we need more of that.
Exactly. Excited about it. Looking forward to what they do in the next season and all the coaches that play a hand. Then we also had the Willie Powell resolution to name that actual overpass there after Willie Powell and the work that he's done here in the community and OIC during his tenure in time. So that will be exciting to see as well.
Yeah, and then so you don't have to, but we also named the bridge going from Nash County to Edgecombe or Edgecombe to Nash over the railroad tracks, Gray Street, Raleigh Road, after your grandfather, Reverend Thomas Walker, and he's done a lot for this community. He's been an elected official. He's been involved in a lot of civil rights. He's been involved. He's been a minister and done a lot of great things for 50. He's been a minister for 52 years.
52 years.
So anyway, we unanimously approved naming the bridge after your grandfather, and well deserved. And I know you're proud to be his grandson.
Man, I'm telling you, he drives that bridge and has been driving over that bridge for at least 52 years, every day, going home, going to the church, and just trying to do best, for the sake of people, man, a real servant's heart. We like to call him, our local Martin Luther King. And so, man, Granddad, Reverend Dr. Thomas L. Walker, we're proud of you, excited about the bridge being named after you. Once it passes through the state, I don't think that'll be any issue. And so looking forward to that day where we can really celebrate, and I'll be there smiling. He's excited. Family's excited, man. So it's great times, time. And thank you again for your vote in that and the rest of council. Then we had public comment. I think the bulk of the comments were around foreclosures. They all were in some form of opposition of the foreclosures. I think really more so due to the fact of not really having community engagement or input around the agreement. And I know we'll get to that item. Well, actually, we're on it now. So I felt, and it was removed. The item was removed. Right. So we won't get to the item, but I felt that some of the sentiments of the constituents, because there was no conversation, no real in-depth conversation around a plan, for the foreclosures. I'm for the idea foreclosing on some of these properties, man, that are just delinquent in taxes and then vacant lots.
Correct.
Primarily, I was really excited about saying, hey, we have opportunity to take some vacant lots that are behind in taxes, some liens, and really looking at ways where developers and those that have a plan for potential housing can really come in and create something for the community. But I do agree there needs to be some community conversation, but also there needs to be some council conversation around
Right.
what is our plan, in this process.
Right. And I agree with you. And I guess another, and I also understand the concerns, but another view on this, on the foreclosure piece, you have property and housing that receives services,
Mhm.
from the city of Rocky Mount. And we all are here, whether we rent or own property, we pay property taxes directly or indirectly.
Yeah.
And we benefit from that ad valorem, the property tax through, the services that we receive, which includes fire and police and
Mhm.
parks and rec and, everything that goes with what we do at the city. And you got to look at the fairness of, okay, well, you've got a neighbor who pays, the property taxes, and then you've
Yeah.
got another neighbor who's not paying the property tax, but they both receive the benefit.
Yeah.
You got to look at the equity and the fairness, and that's one thing that we have not done in the city, across the city, both in Edgecombe and Nash County.
Yeah.
And too often we have people receiving the benefit of the city and living in the city, but not paying for the services. And that's another viewpoint that I think does not need to be forgotten.
Yeah. Yeah. And we need to, hopefully, in our next committee of the whole, I'm going to try to make sure that we can have that up so we can start having that conversation around, what is the plan? We can really start to set a plan in motion for how we can address these foreclosures. I think this agreement was with Edgecombe County solely, so
Mhm.
I'm looking forward to the conversation, man, and excited that the city is finally taking a look. I think I may have mentioned a few times about foreclosures in my tenure as councilman. I know you've mentioned it numerous times in your tenure as council. And so I'm just glad to see us headed in that direction to where we're not just waiting around for solutions for housing, but we're trying to create at least until we can have an updated comprehensive plan. We can start planning around, hey, this is what we could do to try to help our housing stock and beautify our communities, man.
Right.
Then also there was an individual who came up about a shooting that happened at a party,
Pennsylvania
Pennsylvania
and
Avenue,
Avenue.
yeah, and about lighting needed in the city and sort of the process of how we have officers, working these different type of events that we
Right.
have for buildings too. City Manager interim Manager Varney said that we would look into those events as well.
Mhm.
Consider agenda. It's item 9. It's pretty lengthy, and I will not read through it all. But there were a few grant projects and all different type of projects that are listed down. If you want to check some of the items, look on the city's website for that agenda, and you could see a litany of just different items and grants that we approved in the consent agenda. And one item was removed from the agenda, and that was item H, downtown funding assistance policies. And I believe I was there for the beginning of that conversation and left out
Yeah.
before we really even got into voting into it, headed to my son's game. And so, did you want to share anything just from comments?
Well, obviously I was the one, I don't know if you know, but I was the one that requested that to be removed from the agenda. I had reached out to Mayor Roberson and requested that. And he's pretty good about, I think anyone that requests to remove something, he does that. And, my concern really goes around the whole surrounding the downtown funding and the grants. And I have made it no secret prior to becoming a member of the city council and then while in the city council, the transparency, the constitutionality, and I've consistently brought stuff from the School of Government. I read a statement, and part of that statement included, in our last committee of the whole, we received a report from staff, which included our attorney that said, "Hey, we need to change how we do this,
Mhm.
and it has to be for economic development. We have to have some public hearings, and we have to have constitutionality of it because a grant going to a private individual is considered a gift."
Mhm.
And so, you know, essentially the consensus was that, hey, other towns do it, so why can't we? I don't like that. That doesn't sit well with me, and I don't think it represents the city well. Just because other cities are doing it, doesn't make it right.
Yeah.
Wrong is wrong, So, I spoke about that, and then I went into the fact one thing we have. We do a lot of grants. I'm using downtown because a lot of our money goes to downtown because we need to improve downtown.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with that, but we also talk about how we're going to the 14 impoverished communities, and we also talk about how we need to improve downtown for economic development and spend left behind, and for people that are usually left behind financially and or economically and so forth. So, not to belabor that anymore, but the irony is a lot of the money that we have, we're spending about $5.5 million downtown, and we transfer, and that's through the grants, and then also through the event center, because since the event center has been going on, it's cost citizens almost $16 million since it started, and we knew that, but the reoccurring funds total about $5.5 million. So we do every year, we transfer funds from the enterprise funds, which are utilities, which is electric, water, gas, sewer. We transfer, I think in 5 years, we averaged $3 million.
Yeah.
Now, and I was surprised when I came across this. Since 2011 to last year, we've transferred $44 million from our utility funds to the general fund. And a lot of that goes to pay for downtown. What I want to get across to everyone is we've got some, we talk about people who can't afford to pay the utility bills.
Yeah.
We talk about because they live in houses that are not insulated or they have poor HVAC systems or whatever it may be. But then so that technically they're going to pay more in utilities, but because they're using more electricity or gas to heat and to cool.
Yeah.
So, and typically these people that we're referring to typically are lower income folks. So the greater percentage of their income goes to paying utilities. Well, to me, a lot of that's going to pay for downtown. And we got to realize that. And we've got to recognize it. But the other thing is we're also having issues with losing some of our electric and gas folks to competing municipalities that are paying a higher wage than we do. And we also have, these utility contractors who are picking our folks off because they can go make more money. Is this the best way to spend our money, is by plowing it all downtown, or is it really hurting the people? The people actually supposedly we're benefiting are the ones paying for it. And then also our staff, we've got to take a serious look, because, they're the ones that keep our electric on and our gas running. We really need to look at that. Yeah. And that's my concern. Therefore, I voted no. Yeah. And we'll continue to vote no until we can make some serious changes.
I believe, and Peter shared with us a couple of committee of the whole meetings back last year about how we couldn't continue to increase that enterprise funding for those specific purposes for the sake of the financial state of the city. And so he shared that with us in a committee of the whole a few midway through last year. And so to take a more conservative look at that financial approach.
Right.
And I believe we will, to make sure that we're really financially stable and staying financially stable and above water as a city.
Well, I think we're financially stable. It's just that is the best use of the funds.
Yeah.
So I don't want to.
Well, to stay that, because if we continue, if we continue down that trend and we continue to increase and increase and increase, before you know it, I mean, we've increased that fund and that budget allocation to a place where we've depleted another. So it's something to monitor. I think it's something to watch and to make sure that we're just, we're making sure that we're spending the funds, the way that we should, so that we're not continuing to increase that enterprise fund,
right?
And toward like to your point, but we're utilizing those funds in a way in which we can make sure that we're just staying in great financial state. Yeah, and like you said, we want to we're in good financial shape. I don't want
Right.
anyone to hear that wrong, but we can't continue to increase it over years,
Right.
and think that we'll stay that way. Couple more. We're running out of time here, but Juneteenth, the Veterans Day, was amended to actually be holidays in the city, and so that was good. And then the real probably the highlight of the night was the Westmount annexation, and there was a lot of public comment, opposition of it from individuals that are around, and when we made a motion to support the annexation with some limits and with some limitations around the annexation, and making sure that we wouldn't be responsible for 25 years of any infrastructural type of replacement or installations, and so that will be, I think that motion served for item 12 and 13, which it's still the same
Right.
property, just different parcels on that property. And there was a 6-1 vote. Councilman Harris was in opposition of it,
Correct.
and I believe he stated why at the meeting. But that was pretty much the highlight of the night Monday.
Yeah, we received a lot of feedback on that, and I think we need to be clear that we certainly value everyone's opinion on that and thought, and I can understand the concern if you live in the area. Um, it's not an easy decision, but we're being asked voluntarily. Someone wants to be annexed into the city of Rocky Mount, so we need to some of the concerns that were brought up during that, which included the 10% rule, and then also to make sure that whatever ordinance and whatever agreement that we had goes with the property. And frankly, if we find from our attorney that doesn't happen, then I might look at it a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, I'm indifferent, but right now I'm voting to annex it in.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and our attorney, he provided us with the legal information we needed to make sure we were within legal constraints where we needed to be in, and hopefully, the city continues to grow, and there'll be, more areas that say, hey, we want to volunteer to annex into the city, and so the city is here. We're here for growth, and personally, I mean, to me, that was the best decision to make, for the sake of the city as a whole. And so I supported it, and to your point, definitely understood and heard and value the cry from and the comments from individuals that came in opposition. And so I don't want anyone to think that we did not hear, but this decision was one made for the sake of the betterment of the city of Rocky Mount.
right.
Well, Councilman, thank you so much for your time and for your opportunity to come and be here for a moment to hang out with me from the mayor's brief. And we look forward to the next time.
Yes, sir. Thank you, and I appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.